All right, so recording has begun. I'd like to confirm that everybody can see my screen. Just going to start the presentation here. If you can't see my screen, let me know. I have a presentation slide up. It's got the title LG Sensor Connect version 2.0. If anybody doesn't see that, let me know. All right. It would appear that that everybody's able to see my screen, so we'll get started. We're going to be training on today is LG's Sensor Connect version 2.0 system. This system is an app-based system which we believe will help you achieve most regulatory code compliance and especially a lot of those rebates that are offered by some advanced lighting controls rebate programs. So keep that in mind. If anything shows up and you're not seeing it on one of the slides, it might be missing. Let me know. There are things that our system cannot do, and there are things that our system can do. So feel free to jump in and ask if I'm missing anything. So a little bit of background on how LG got into lighting. Back in the early 2000s, LG was into manufacturing plasma lighting for businesses and got into the smart bulb business in the later 2000s. Eventually, that would mature into the Tropper lineup for lighting controls. And in 2013, with some track record in manufacturing lights, LG partnered with a California-based software company called Daintree. Daintree Networks had a Zigbee wireless control system that they wanted to go to market with a manufacturer's Zigbee-enabled lights. So LG had manufactured our lights with wireless embedded in mind. The way we did that was by adding a plug directly on the driver where the Zigbee wireless radio plugged into. And so thus we got true embedded wireless capabilities without the need for any wiring for the low voltage dimming. All of it is done internally in the driver. Furthermore, in 2014, we continued launching our smart bulbs, and in 2015 for commercial, we launched the LG Sensor Connect app-based system. What we learned from our experience with Daintree was that although everybody loved the lights, they loved the wireless controls, not everybody liked the idea of having to use one software the same way folks would like to use a more native approach. So we decided to launch the Sensor Connect app to give folks who wanted to purchase our lights the ability to program the lights without having to fork over money for a full-blown EMS system. Since then, the app was basically a stripped-down version of Daintree Networks control scope and retained most of the attributes that we were able to program and polished some of them. The only things that went missing would be settings that would require a server and an on-premise device that's always talking to the lights. Essentially, we went completely standalone. In 2016, we improved our product lineup. We introduced more high base, down lights, a couple of tube and driver and board and driver kits. So our LED portfolio has increased. For those who were at Light Fair this year, we also introduced a new product called a ZAP. That's a Zigbee to analog transformer. And what that does is if you're not using an LG fixture, you can add a ZAP, which would connect to any third-party 0 to 10 volt LED driver, and you can plug our dongle into it. So then you can add non-LG fixtures to this system that we're talking about here. I'm getting a little bit of background noise from somebody. If you could please put your phones on mute, and if you do have a question, go ahead and unmute. So the future of LG lighting lies in our value adders. We we increase value with our rapid payback and high efficacy products. We try to offer various lighting technology. So currently we use Zigbee as our technology base, and for our platform we have the Sensor Connect app, and we also partner with Daintree Networks and Atani Systems, who have full-blown EMS systems which are scalable. We pride ourselves in our supply chain and being worldwide. We're one of the largest manufacturers in the world. And we have a very high quality control in our factories and in our headquarters in Korea. So the offices in the U.S. are purely sales-based. Our headquarters for LG Lighting is in Korea, where all of the R&D, product planning, EMS planning, and manufacturing is performed. So all of this goes through the Korea-based quality control company. And of course, we try to always improve our design, sleek designs, easy to install, everything that would make a product more likable. That is something that LG tries to push forward and keep their eyes on. The three pillars that LG Lighting has built its platform on, though, would be the ease of installation, the intuitive operation, and the savings that you get by buying our products. So when you're installing our lights, electricians only need to bring power to the light. We sell lights with the dongle and sensor already installed and embedded. However, if somebody decided to just buy our lights without any controls plugged into it, they could, and they could later just come back and add the dongle directly to the driver. It's very easily done. The driver on a lane is either exposed on the top of the fixture, or on a retrofit, you simply unhook the hinges and swing the door open, and you got the driver right there in front of your face, and you can plug in a dongle, and now it's got Zigbee wireless capabilities. Similarly, our switches are easy to install as well. We've got battery-packed ones, and we also have hardwired ones that are simply a line and load. So you just use a leg switch, retrofit an existing switch, and pop it in. We continue to improve the operation of the app. For those who may be familiar with the old app, it was more of a room-based controller and not much more than that. We've enhanced the visualization of the new app. We've included floor plan mapping. You've got more dynamic icons that provide you more real-time information. And you've also got a troubleshooting manager that takes you through a wizard-like step-by-step process on how to troubleshoot some common issues. And the savings come from not only our high efficacy, so we have one of the highest lumen per watt efficacies, but also if you purchase our lights with controls, so if you ordered one of our Sensor Connect lights, which comes with a sensor in it, or you order a light with a dongle, as soon as you power it on, the controls automatically trim the high end down to 80%. So that's the default high-end trim. There's a lot of rebate programs out there that require 80% as one of the requirements to be eligible. So just having this light plugged in with a dongle or a sensor already has an 80% high-end trim, and these sensors already come with motion and daylight activated. You can further the savings by grouping them together with the app and adding a switch which can also dim and schedule it. So lots of ways you can squeeze out savings out of an already low wattage, high performance product. So for the technology that we use, once again, we're using Zigbee, Zigbee Wireless. For those of you that are not aware, Zigbee is a wireless protocol that runs on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. The way we use Zigbee is we have an app that runs on Android only. The reason for that is that we've also manufactured a Zigbee USB antenna. This USB antenna plugs directly into the Android device. That means that the Android device is communicating directly with the wireless modules in the light. The wireless module being either a dongle. A dongle is just a wireless chip and nothing else, which contains light levels, or a sensor, which is a dongle with a wire attached to a sensor that's got a photocell for daylight and a PIR sensor for motion. The same goes for our high bay IP65 rated sensor, which you see there. So our Android app connects directly to those devices. Those devices are plugged directly into our fixtures. So there's no bridges in between. All of these are direct plugins. So these are all plugged directly into our fixture. And the wireless switch is not controlling the lights with any wires. It's sending a wireless signal, a Zigbee message, to the lights to control them. So even the hardwired switch, which uses the Lake switch for power, is not controlling the lights via power line. It's simply using it for power. It's always on. However, it's sending the messages over Zigbee. So everything communication-wise is done through Zigbee. So I want to quickly talk about what LG Sensor Connect can do. In talking about what it can do, I'll also mention what it cannot do, since both are very important. Number one is motion detection. So with our app, you can group lights together, and let's say you have a conference room of 6 lights. If you only have one sensor in there, that one sensor will detect motion and control all 6 lights. It'll turn the lights on when it sees motion. When it no longer sees motion, it'll dim down to a middle, and when it continues to not see motion, it'll eventually turn all the way off to the minimum light level. Daylight harvesting, same deal. As long as you have a sensor in the group, daylight harvesting can function and control the entire grouping area. So with daylight harvesting, as long as the lights are on and the room is occupied, meaning the lights are at the max level, the lights will daylight harvest. If there's no one in the room and the lights are at middle or min, daylight harvesting is not operating. So to not consume more energy and create more bandwidth traffic. We also have centralized scheduling. This is performed by our wireless switch. If you have a switch in the room, you can add schedules to it. Every switch can contain up to 10 schedules. A schedule is more like an alarm than it is a calendar. It's a trigger that goes off at a specified time and may repeat on a specified day of the week or weekend. So if you had if you have morning meetings every day at 7 a.m. and you want a certain room to be on already, you can schedule that switch to turn the lights on at 7 a.m. If you want to dim all the lights across the floor or in specific rooms, you set those switches up to dim the lights down to 50% in the evening. And then you can have an off schedule at midnight where all the lights get shut off, just in case anybody may have forgotten to turn the lights off and they don't have motion. Or there's air handling units that sometimes trip the motion and you get false ons. So scheduling can do an on or an off, and it can also modify the dim level. And lastly, we have mode control, which is a switch grouping. So if you have a room and you've got a 2-zone switch, you can group the top 2 buttons to control half of the room, or just one group of the room, and the bottom 2 buttons to control the other second group of the room, even though all the lights are part of the same location and turn on and off together with motion. You are able to independently dim 2 groups or turn 2 different groups off. Here is our trail of controls. So when you buy our lights, as I mentioned before, you plug them, you install them, and you have a dongle or a sensor plugged in, you're automatically saving some energy. The lights are trimmed down to 80%. That's called individual control. When you add the Sensor Connect app, we now call that location control. In a location, we group lights together, and you have the ability to add a switch. You cannot program a switch to the lights without the app. So keep that in mind. It's very important. If you have our switch, you need to use the app to group it with the lights. And this also includes using the Zigbee USB antenna on the Android app. And just for clarity, the reason why we don't support Windows or iOS yet, specifically iOS, is because we don't have a way to natively connect a USB device. iOS currently locks that out, so iOS does not support what's called USB host mode. Android natively supports that, so we're able to code the app to take advantage of the USB host mode on the Android device. We sell a tablet that's got a full-size USB on the top, but you can also use your phone and use a USB on-the-go adapter that plugs into your charger and has a full-size USB port on the other end. Furthermore, we get into the sensor network lighting systems. This is where Atani and Daintree players come in. They'll have a server that runs the software, and they'll have gateways, in other words, access points, throughout the building which aggregate lights and tunnel them back to the server so that you have a centralized lighting manager. The systems by Atani and Daintree can also be integrated into a BMS via BACnet or Modbus or any other legacy protocols that a building may have with Johnson's or Eaton. The Daintree and Atani system can tie into those systems and actually be your central interface for those systems as well, so that you can combine heating and cooling, fans, thermostats, and the lights all together. Here's a quick comparison of how the LG Sensor Connect system compares to some of our other competitors' app-based systems. So we've got Philips EasySense, Acuity Nlight Air, and Cree SmartCast, all three of which are very competitive systems and do their job very well. However, what we've done is we've tried to take apart where they have strengths and where they have weaknesses, and try to use their strengths and improve on their weaknesses. So a quick example would be Philips EasySense. They've got a great mobile app that runs on Android. However, their reliance on an infrared blaster or NFC really limit their ability for the phone, which you can use to program their devices. Most commonly used is a Samsung Galaxy S5, which was released in 2013. So eventually, those are going to run out on eBay and other online vendors. And in today's market, there's not many phones left with IR blasters or NFC, unless you're buying one of the highest end devices. So that's a limitation, and that's the reason why we externalize the protocol that we're using. So instead of relying on a phone or tablet to have these protocols built in, we instead created our own Zigbee USB device. By doing so, you can essentially buy any Android phone or tablet, and as long as USB host mode has not been blocked by that manufacturer, which is very rare, then you can use just about any Android device with our Zigbee antenna. However, the Philips EasySense app does have simple and intuitive commissioning processes that we've taken a liking to, and you might see some similarities there. Some things that they do that we don't, though, they do scenes. We currently do not support scenes. Scenes would be pre-programmed buttons that would set the lights to a certain light level. We currently don't support that yet. That is something we're working on for a future product release, as well as energy monitoring, or energy metering, I should say. It's something that's coming to the Chicago rebate program in 2019 or 2020, as well as DLC. Energy metering is something that we are also working on developing and adding onto the Sensor Connect system. Although on the Philips system you need all lights to have sensors, on the Sensor Connect system you don't need sensors at every light. You only need to put sensors where sensing is needed, and on the rest of the lights you can save $20 and just put a dongle in. Moving on over to the Acuity Nlight Air system, they use Bluetooth. We use Zigbee. There's some strengths and weaknesses to both. We try to improve on Zigbee's range while taking advantage of Zigbee's incredible mesh network capabilities. However, Acuity does have the ability to commission with the app and then later scale up to the full-blown Eclipse system, that is something that we try to take advantage and leverage our partners, Atani and Daintree, so that if we commission with the Sensor Connect app, we're developing a way to quickly and easily migrate everything over to the Atani or Daintree system if the customer does decide to upgrade. One of the limitations, though, in commissioning Acuity Nlight Air is that everything must be mapped before commissioning, and you need a gateway to talk to the lights. You can't talk to the lights directly. So although they support Android and iOS, they're supporting it using Bluetooth, but that Bluetooth, they're connecting to the gateway through the phone's Wi-Fi connection. So that means that if you're too far away from a gateway or the gateway loses power, you lose communication with the light. So relying on an external lighting panel or gateway is very limiting. And it's also another piece to add to the design layout, which we don't need. You don't need to do a design layout with Sensor Connect. You can simply just put lights where they need to go. All of the controls are embedded. The same goes for Cree SmartCast. We really like the idea of one-button commissioning, so we try to mimic that in our floor commissioning, where if you're on a certain floor, if you press the commissioning button, it will go through and try to commission all the lights in all the locations that are within 130 feet. If you're too far away from a certain area, you simply walk on over to that area, and the lights will get commissioned. But once again, with Cree, you got to have all the lights installed first and foremost before you begin commissioning. With Sensor Connect, you can just go as you install, or you can come back at the end and program everything once they're all installed. And similarly, they require all sensors, whereas we can combine sensors and dongles. So we try to borrow the best and the strengths from our competitors while trying to improve on areas that we think are limiting and prohibitive to the end user, not just the owner, but also the commissioning agents and installers. We're trying to make it easier from all fronts. So one of the ways that we've started trying to make it easier for installers is by attempting to get rid of barcode stickers altogether. So currently, if you install our lights, if you don't have one of our new VLC lights, which most of them are by now, but we do still have some older products. If you install a non-VLC product, then what the installer will have to do is track the barcode stickers that come in the box on the floor plan. This floor plan with the barcode stickers will then be used by the commissioning agent to input the information into the app. VLC is a new technology that we've adopted. It stands for Visible Light Communication. It is the act of the LEDs flashing rapidly at 30,000 hertz to broadcast their barcode ID. So what you do is, instead of getting the barcode sticker, you come into the room with the app open and the VLC connector plugged into the top of the tablet, as you can see there in the image. And when you stand underneath the light, the photocell on the USB connector will read the message that's being transmitted by the light through VLC. It's sending its ID in binary just over and over again, and the app will pick it up, and it will add a barcode icon with that ID in the app. So it minimizes a lot of errors, right? The installers might put the barcodes in the wrong place, or the floor plans might get destroyed, or the commissioning agent might input the data wrong by making a typo. With this, we reduce that. It's one-for-one correlation. You're under the light that you know you want, and the device, it's not relying on user to input the data. It's getting it automatically. So this improves having to go back to areas that were commissioned incorrectly or put in the wrong place. And it's the fastest way to get through every room and register every light to do more accurate commissioning. So overall, we're helping the installers have an easier time install our lights, and also reducing commissioning hours spent on site troubleshooting versus just getting in and out of every room. Now, when it comes to commissioning, VLC obviously helps the commissioner a lot. However, in instances like a warehouse where you've got a high bay application and you need a lift just to get to the lights, there could be some challenges in troubleshooting some of those lights. So what we've come up with is an LPCS, that's a lighting pre-commissioning station. It's a station that's got 21 ports for a dongle or sensor. You can connect 21 sensors, 21 dongles, or whatever combination of those. And what it does is it powers it on, and it's got an LED for every connection. That LED is essentially a little light. So it's like having 21 fixtures on your desk. You can do this from your office. All it takes is a USB cable to power it. And as long as the dongle or the sensor has power and it's got a little LED indicator, you can commission it with the app before installation. When you've commissioned it, the commissioning program is saved inside the flash memory of the dongle or sensor. So that means you can disconnect them, put them in the box or in a bag, label them, this is Office 1, this is Conference Room 1, and hand them to the installers, and when they go to plug them in, there's no further programming needed. They will be pre-commissioned already. So that will reduce a site visit entirely. You may only want to visit the site to do a walkthrough just to confirm that everything was installed correctly. But as long as everything was installed correctly, programming won't be needed. The same can be done with the switch, with the battery switch. If you pop in the batteries and program it, and then remove the batteries and ship it, the switch will come pre-programmed. So here's a quick glance at what the commissioning process consists of. We have it split up into two instances. You set up the app in offline mode, and then you commission the lights in online mode. So essentially what you're doing is you're planning everything in offline. You're setting up the building, you're setting up the floors, you're adding rooms, you're adding lights into the rooms, you're setting the light levels, and saving it. Once all that is set up and offline, you can do that from your office or from the hotel. You don't need to be on site to do any of that. Once you go on site, you go to online commissioning, and you just begin doing a commissioning search. The commissioning search will look for the registered devices, and once it finds them, it automatically applies the settings that you have set up in step 3, so that you don't need to go in and save the settings manually. It does it automatically when it finds the lights. So that way you go into a room, you hit search, lights are found, you're done. You move on to the next room, hit search, lights are found, you're done. Continue, rinse and repeat. So what we want people to practice is that in offline is where you do most of your planning. That's where you change the design of the floor plan, change the colors of the rooms, rearrange the icons, so on and so forth. All that should be done in offline, so it doesn't require a Zigbee network. It doesn't require you to have the antenna plugged in. The only thing that requires the antenna to be plugged in is online commissioning, because that's when the app does a Zigbee search using the Zigbee antenna. And so here's a representation of how we use a floor plan. So you import the floor plan, it just overlays a grid over it, and you use the grid to color in the locations. That's just so you can easily discern the separation of locations. So when you outline the locations, you're going to get a color that's going to be highlighted over that location. When you click on that location, it'll zoom in to what you highlighted, and then you'll see the light icons in the zoomed in location view. But from the floor view, it's just the floor plan with the locations. You won't see any light icons from here. You'll simply just open a location to get into it and view the lights. All right, we're not going to get into a ton of integration at this point. So that's what these next two slides are. So here at the end, I've got some contact info. I will share this presentation with everybody, but here's our contact info. For the sales engineer team, it's myself and Dave Liu. I've put our number and email here. You guys should probably already have the lighting orders. I'm pretty sure you guys have your own purchasing channel, but if you don't, this is where orders come through. But more importantly, if you need support from the lighting team, customer support, replacement units, shipping, tracking, whatever it is, you would contact the lighting support group. They're based out of our Georgia office, so they should be on a similar time zone as you all. And their email is the lighting support email there. So next, I'm going to move on to doing a live demo of the app. Before I get to that, I just want to know if everybody's doing okay on time and if there was any questions. All right. It doesn't sound like there was any questions. If there was, remember you might be on mute. Make sure to unmute yourself. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my Android device and get the presentation started there, so that you all can see the live app.